All right, guys, welcome to the Friday edition of the No1 podcast. I am your host, Coach Jake, where we discuss the journey from no one to number one. Jedi, what's up? Kevin, Glockslinger, Red Eye Mike, Palomares, Charlie Rodriguez, Simon Wilkinson Creative. What is up, people, man? You guys are all jumping on here, man. Tell me, what? Give me some roll call. It's hammer time. Where you guys from, man? What's up, All Trades Ltd? I got your belt back here somewhere. It's like hidden behind the. Let me move this out of the way a little bit. Maybe you could see it better. There we go. So, yeah, man, Big Mikey, Hercules Godfist. That's a hell of a name. So, hey, I wanted to talk today about imposter syndrome. Do you got it? I want to talk about how it's connected to your self-esteem, and I want to talk to you about fear, right? Hercules Godfist. Oh, what's up? What's up, Alfred? Good to see you, bro. Punchy Facey all the way up in Canada. Robden. Yeah, what's up, dude? Matthew. Daddy Longneck. Yeah, I guess that's my new nickname. Oh man. Yeah, it's when you got a long neck and you wrestle, dude, you got to learn how to protect it, dude. I mean, I'm it's hard, man. I got jacked. I've got like serious cervical damage. I've got a collapsed carotid, a carotid dissection. So yeah, it's some real shit. So what's up, Marco Antonio Daco Staff? All trade, man. You are one hell of a salesman, dude. You're always trying to get those referrals. All Trade's the guy who made my belt. You guys need a belt made. Hook me up. I'll hook you up with him. He is great. What's up, Gray? What's up, Notch or Knock Damage? I want to know where you guys are from. So I'm talking about imposter syndrome. Okay, it's a word, right? And you know me, I like looking up words. So let's do this real quick. I'm going to go to my fancy etymological dictionary. Now, for those of you who don't know, I always use the etymological dictionary. Do you know what that is? It's different than a normal dictionary. Normal dictionary just tells you the definition of words. An etymological dictionary tells you the history of the meaning and the history of the definitions of words. So let's go to etymology, and we're going to look up imposter syndrome. Let's look up imposter. Okay. So the first thing is right, like imposter etymology. Okay. So from 1580s, a swindler or a cheat, from the French word imposteur, or from late Latin impostor, a deceiver. Okay. So do you feel like you're a deceiver? Do you feel like you are a swindler? Ooh, that is a word that does not get enough traction. That guy's a swindler. And that's like some 1800s shit when you call somebody a swindler. Yeah, so what's up? I suck at BJJ. What's up, Kaiser Crush? Great. I see y'all guys, man. Give me where you're from. I want to know where you're from. And all the guys out on Facebook and YouTube, all that, blow me up. I want to hear where you guys are from. I'll give you a shout out. But so imposter syndrome, man. Okay. Do you have imposter syndrome? Have you ever had imposter syndrome? Okay, so I'm gonna look up imposter syndrome because this sounds like some bullshit to me. Okay, we're gonna deconstruct this fucking shit. Okay, so how do you get imposter syndrome? How do you catch it? How do you catch the swindler syndrome? Let's just change the word from imposter to swindler syndrome. So this is what Wikipedia says. Imposter syndrome, also known as imposter phenomenon or impostorism, is a psychological occurrence in which an individual doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. Despite external evidence of their competence, Those experiences phenomena do not believe they deserve their success or luck. They may incorrectly attribute it to the Matthew effect, whatever that is, or they may think that they are deceiving others because they feel as if they are not as intelligent as they outwardly portray themselves to be. Okay. I mean, I don't know about this, dude. Like, it sounds like, okay, so the term imposter phenomenon, which then became imposter syndrome, was introduced in an article published in 1978 titled "The Imposter Phenomenon in High Achieving Women: Dynamics and Therapeutic Intervention" by Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes. Okay, so I don't know, man. Like, here's the thing: if you are a legit badass, and that means you've put points on the board or you've accomplished something that is recognizable and verifiable, and there's no bullshit. I am curious about like what this is about. Okay. Oh, Patty threw me a. Let's see, Patty. I don't know if I could show that, Patty Deathburger. I can't show like images. He showed me. He commented a I don't know, some sort of green smiley face monster. Thank you for that, Patty. Good to see you. We got Hercules. Yep, Saskatchewan. What's up, Alfred? It's been a minute, dude. That's a great name, by the way. Hercules Godfist. I love that. Super strong. Bull Strong. All you guys. Sorry, my mic's in the. Let's see if I can't fix this. There we go. There we go. Now you guys can't see my belt, but I'm sorry about that. I can't see the screen. There we go. Compromise. So, do you or anyone you know claim to have imposter syndrome? Yes, no? Anybody waving their hand? Okay. I mean, I got at least I think 15 people on the chat right now. So, yes or no? No? What's up, Jose is the bastard? Vic, good to see you guys. So, I don't know about this stuff, okay? Like, if you have imposter syndrome, I would like to talk to somebody actually who has imposter syndrome, because it sounds like bullshit, right? Because to me, it sounds like you don't have self-esteem, okay? So what do I mean by self-esteem? Very simply, respect for yourself, right? So I'm a firm believer that that self-esteem or self-respect is like any other kind of esteem or respect insofar as it's freaking earned, right? And so like, let's talk about a swindler or an imposter, right? I love, dude, swindler, man. I have to start leveling that at people, man. You're a swindler. Love that shit. That's a good word, man. Nobody's using the word swindler anymore. Anyway, so okay, if like, let's talk about a swindler. A swindler is a deceiver, right? Like, I already went through these synonyms for imposter, where the root of the word comes from deceiver, swindler, that kind of thing, fraud. So a fraud can be perpetrated on you by another person. I've had it happen. I've been in business, and somebody said they were going to do something, or we made an agreement, and they didn't live up to their fucking agreement. Okay, that to me is some bullshit, right? Counterfeiter, yeah. Like, okay, so if you say you're going to do something, take money for it, and then don't deliver, or say you're going to do something, and there's some sort of exchange or whatever, somebody else does something for you, and then you don't follow through, right? Do you ever have respect for that kind of fucking person? Do you have respect for them? No, you don't. Like, if somebody fucks you over and screws you over in a deal, you don't esteem them very high. You don't respect them. You don't recommend them, right? This is like a no-brainer. The thing is it's even worse with regards to yourself, because you cannot, at the end of the day, deceive yourself. You can't. You could try. You could say, hey, I'm 10 foot 5 inches tall when you're actually 6'1". Like, you could try that, but it's not true. And you know it's not true. You can say it. You can try to deceive yourself. But in the end, you're going to end up judging yourself the same way anybody else that is a swindler. No esteem and no respect, right? So this is, to me, where all self-respect comes from, is keeping your agreements with yourself, right? You've got to try to keep your agreements with yourself hell or high water. It's super important to do that with other people, because we live in a world, no man is an island. You're going to do business with people, you've got to have a good reputation, period. Okay? But you've got to start by having a great reputation with yourself. So maybe these people who have imposter syndrome, maybe, I don't know. I don't really know anybody who has it. So if somebody could clue me in or something, I would really appreciate that. Okay. But maybe in one domain, so let's say it's like, I don't know, skateboarding or snowboarding or something. I don't know. I'm just making shit up. Let's say that you're a badass, right? You can do every trick. You can ride half pipe. You can go to the skate park. You can do 720. You can do every freaking crazy trick in the world. Okay. But maybe you're a piece of shit outside of the skate park, or when you're not on your skateboard. Maybe you're always hustling or scamming or lying or cheating or bullshitting or swindling your way out of things. So maybe there's some sort of transference that happens where you're like not really doing things worthy of self-respect or worthy of self-esteem in one domain, and then that transfers over. I don't know. I'm trying to figure this out. I don't understand it. Okay. So like, do you know anybody who claims, like, what is the root of this imposter syndrome? If you're actually doing the things, then you're not an imposter. You're not a swindler. So then what's the deal? What is the disconnect between understanding, like, when you're actually delivering on things and not? Anybody have a clue on that? Because it seems, and I'm looking to be educated, because it seems to make no flipping sense to me whatsoever, right? Like, imposter syndrome, like, two things, right? Like, they're trying to medicalize ethical behavior, right? An imposter is a deceiver, is a liar, is a fraud. That's ethics. Oh, but it's a syndrome. It's a cluster of symptoms, blah, blah, blah. It just sounds like bullshit used to try to sell you some fucking pills, turn you into a pharmaceutical monthly revenue stream to me. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm trying to be educated here, and I'm crowdsourcing it. So if anybody out there actually has it or knows, I'd love to get an advocacy. I'd love to get a conversation going on this, because it does not make any sense to me. And it just sounds like another layer of bullshit that's put on maybe young people that just keeps them down for no reason, like gives them an excuse. Now, there's a difference between fear and imposter syndrome. And I think maybe sometimes it's like there might be a conflation. Fear is an interesting subject, because it's an emotion. It's a response, right? I'm of the school that I don't think that that you can naturally, automatically, without training, control your emotions, because it's like they're responses, they're reactions, right? For all you Scientologists out there, the reactive mind. One thing I will say is, I think, I'm not particularly a religious person, and some of these newfangled religions like Scientology or even I consider LDS, like the Mormon thing, like newfangled. I mean, even the old-fangled ones, I'm just not totally bought in. I think they've got a lot of great things. Each one individually has some good things, and then there's some awful things, or some skeletons in the closet. But I do think one of the things that's cool about that I think is useful is this idea that Scientologists talk about, or it's not even Scientologists. I think in his book Dianetics, L. Ron Hubbard talks about the reactive mind, right? So that, in my mind, is a real thing. Like it's called being triggered, okay? But you can control your responses eventually. That's the whole point of any kind of training. So for those of us that are in martial arts, okay, if somebody punches at you, boom, your reactive mind flinches. Yeah, I mean, this is not rocket science, but through repetitive training, now I'm not going to flinch. I might slip it, actually. I might move into it and slip and close the distance because I trained, right? So you can train the reactive mind. And so fear to me is part of that. Oh, Alfred is saying, here's an example. A diamond is a beautiful and expensive thing. Many will counterfeit diamonds to make money, and let's see, I can't, if you write too long of a comment, I can't see it. So what's up, greatness? What's up, Decantiros? Happy to see you guys. I mean, I don't know, man. I just think that what's interesting here is when you look physiologically at fear, I think a lot of our emotional responses have an analytical overlay put on by our brain, maybe in hindsight or retrospect, or maybe in the moment because we're already trained to put that overlay on it. But I think that do I have somebody on Clubhouse? Hello, hello. What's up, Dawn? I'm trying to wave at Dawn. Dawn, are you there, man? I don't know if you can hear me. I'm trying to figure out how to have callers. Can you guys hear that? You guys might not be able to hear that. Let's see. Dawn, are you there? I'm going to move Dawn to the audience for now. I appreciate you checking in, Dawn. Thanks, bro. So I think that like fear ends up getting a bad rap because guess what? It's the context. Honestly, in my opinion, I've posted this before. I've written about this before. I've talked about this before. To me, fear is just excitement with a shitty attitude. Does that make sense? Fear is just excitement with a shitty attitude. Let me explain. Many people pay to have the experience of fear. Where do you think all of the attractions industry with roller coasters, haunted houses, horror films, jump scares, now physiologically, what happens when you are scared? Physiologically, have you ever been scared? I mean, hit me up at the chat. What happens to your body? Right? You get your heart races. Maybe your palms sweat, or maybe you get the chills, or these things happen. You start breathing a little crazy. Fair? You experience the same fear when you're about ready to jump off a high dive for the first time, but you're putting yourself in that situation. You're the one who climbed the stairs. You're the one who waited in line. You're the one walking out on the platform to jump off the high dive for the first time, right? So I think that, imposter syndrome sounds to me sometimes like maybe an excuse. And I don't know because I don't have imposter syndrome. I don't really know anybody who's had imposter syndrome, but it kind of sounds like bullshit. But I do want to be open to anybody that has had it and can explain it to me and maybe convince me that it's real. It just sounds like BS. It sounds like fear to me, and a fear that you don't want to overcome. Fair? So I believe you can inoculate yourself against fear through exposure, through training, to overcome things that freak you out, to where you actually begin to enjoy it and pay for it like a roller coaster, pay for it like a horror film. like a scary movie. Does that make sense? What's up? I am Deerskin, Ahmed or Belly. Where's everybody from? You guys got these names that I can hardly pronounce, and that's my bad. It's because I should be more worldly, but I can't pronounce some of these names. I'd love to get out there and travel and meet all you guys. Anyway, I am just concerned that I love to study language and the history of the meaning of words. I think it's very, very powerful. I think words are magical, right? So I think they end up like containing so much meaning that we just take for granted, and they end up kind of, I don't want to say programming, because I don't believe that anybody can be controlled against their will. I don't believe that. I mean, you could be controlled through duress, meaning like somebody kidnaps your family, tells you got to go rob a bank, or they're going to kill your family, so you go rob the bank. That's duress. Okay. But I don't believe that, but I do believe that we can kind of be misled and manipulated if we don't understand the meaning of these words. And just like in the basics of debate, of forensic debate, whenever you're getting into a conversation, you need to define your terms. Like they call the root of the word war comes from, I think, a Proto-Germanic word, wera, W-E-R-R-A, which really means confusion, right? So confusion and war are synonymous, whereas peace, like a euphemism, a metaphor for a euphemism for peace, is coming to terms. And I think it's important for people to define things properly. So to me, this whole idea of like imposter syndrome, I mean, either you're an imposter or you're not. And if you're not an imposter, but you're feeling those feelings, then, I mean, nobody could verify if somebody's actually feeling these feelings or not, or if maybe they're having another set of feelings and they're either misdiagnosing it, misidentifying it, or they're hiding because they just want an excuse. So have you ever had imposter syndrome, or do you know somebody who's had imposter syndrome? Because I don't understand it. It doesn't seem like a thing to me, like a real thing. But people have said they have it, but I just don't. I mean, how do you know? Like, is there a blood test for it? No. Is there some sort of lesion or tumor that appears on your brain? Oh, that's an imposter syndrome lesion. So let's drop this syndrome bullshit, in my opinion, which is medicalizing language with, it's what's known as an inkhorn term. Ink, like an inkhorn, like those, you write with an ink pen. It means like prestige jargon. There's something pseudoscience, something meant to imply something is scientific without it actually being scientific. Scientism instead of science, right? So we find this a lot in psychology. Let's be real. We find this a lot in psychology, and we find this a lot in psychiatry, right? So I'm a coach. I'm not a fucking therapist. I'm not your fucking buddy. Maybe I'm your friend, but like, if we're engaged in a coaching engagement, I'm a coach, right? Now, the history and the meaning of the word coach, the etymological definition, the etymology of coaching, of a coach, is the same as a stage coach. That's where it originally comes from, like a vehicle to get you from A to B. I don't need to hear about your mom, what she did to you. I don't need to hear about how you were embarrassed or what. I don't need any of that stuff. My job as a coach is to get you from A to B, just like a car, just like a vehicle, right? So excuses are not going to do that, right? You've always heard that. Like, I mean, hopefully you've heard it. You can either make excuses or you can make money. You can either make excuses or you can be successful or you can get results. One of the two. You can't do both, right? I am curious, how much bullshit has been foisted upon us, especially when we're younger and we're not maybe as critical, or we don't have the mental self-defense. So, like martial arts, a lot of times people come into it from maybe a self-defense standpoint. I did. I started out just as a sport and just something I thought was cool. But I had cancer as a kid, man, and I went from being 6'1", 160 pounds at 15 with a black belt, having wrestled like a scrappy little dude, tough, big kid, to in the span of after chemo and radiation in like 6 weeks, I went to from 165 pounds to 117. And you don't think that there was kids in that school that, and I'll admit, I wasn't the greatest. I could have probably been a bully before the cancer. And when the tables turned, it was no bueno, dude. Being 117 pounds, I looked like fucking Auschwitz, dude. It was rough. And so, I had a bunch of fights. I had more fights when I lost all that weight and I went through that. Alfred says actors go through imposter syndrome. Actors fucking are imposters, dude. That's like their job. They're the only people besides politicians that actually get paid to fucking lie and be imposters, dude. So yeah, of course they go through they are an actor by definition is not what they portray themselves at. That is an imposter, right? But it's at least done ethically, right? Dave Hollenbeck, what is up, homeboy? He says, leave the drama with your mama. The mat is not a place for a broken mind. Dude, it's so true. And it's hard. Like, man, there's just some I think that philosophy is so much better than psychology, honestly, because it doesn't pretend to medicalize anything, or it's talking to you about really being self-reflective. I really like a lot of the Stoics. I think Stoicism. So okay, I'll share. I'll be vulnerable. So I go through this fucking cancer. I go through chemotherapy. I go through radiation. It's just awful. I still don't have any hair on the back of my head and my neck because that's where I got radiated. I do think that's why I ended up breaking my neck in my early 20s. And I wrestled for another 15 years on it until then I had a carotid dissection. So, I don't have fucking imposter syndrome. I have a fuck ton of injuries and scars to document my journey. But, being vulnerable, I was a young man, so I'm 15, 16 years old, just coming into puberty, right? Trying to get dates with girls and all that, figuring out. And all of a sudden, I'm like a fucking horror show. I'm like 117 pounds, just sickly. Talk about self-esteem, man. It was rough because the feedback I was getting was like I was a fucking monster. Nobody wanted anything to do with me, like young people. And I understand, dude, because I had done that too when I'd seen other kids bald with chemo and be a little freaked out, not know, again, because of fear, because of ignorance. But, when I went through it and I'm having to deal with that, looking through my eyes, feeling through my skin, having it affect me, puking, like all the awful stuff, all the surgeries I had to go through, it fucked with my head. I'm going to be real, because you go through these existential things. I'd grown up in a very Catholic family. And so, I'm going, my first phase is like a 15-year-old is like, oh God, why me? And all this bullshit. I quickly learned that that the religious model was not going to really help me. I went to the priest and, tried to get counseling there, and it was dumb. I mean, I'm sorry, maybe it worked for you, but it was not convincing to say prayers and shit. I'm like, dude, I'm saying prayers, ain't done it. Like, I'm a good person. Why does this happen? Right? Like that kind of thing. And honestly, I didn't find anything. And the one thing, and this was pure luck. It wasn't by any brilliance or anything like that. But now it's interesting. Hey, what's up, Dave? Let's see here. This is interesting. Your son had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I had Hodgkin's. So, but to your point, somebody that has a victim mentality in the mat does not control themselves and become dangerous when your ego is not in check. 100%. That's interesting. Yeah, I actually had Hodgkin's lymphoma. So honestly, I was like one of those fucking, you have to understand, if you were a latchkey kid in the 80s, right? This is the era of the satanic panics where everybody thought Satan fucking worshipers were everywhere. Do you remember this? And they and the Nancy Reagan just say no shit was like everywhere. And so uh I bought into all that shit because I was just a dumb kid, man. I'm watching GI Joe, and I'm like not really analytical, not wise to history and how big corporations, big governments actually really are. And so I just bought it hook, line, and sinker. Well, anyway, I was like that. I bought into all that crap until I got really sick, and there was nothing to be done. Like, not there was no respite. There was not. I mean, and so frankly, at 16, 17, I started drinking, started smoking pot, started doing mushrooms, started doing acid. Okay, and this is where I talk about the luck. Now, again, psychiatry, psychology, in my opinion, is listen. Go to do this. Don't trust me. Type in replication crisis psychology. Replication crisis psychology. Okay. You're going to see that everything I'm saying is founded in real science. Okay. Most of psychology is bullshit. It's not replicable. Okay. Which is a pillar of scientific inquiry, is to be replicable. You have to be able to repeat these claims and this experiments, right? So anyway, their solution for this kind of stuff through all of the 90s and the 2000s and even to today was to push these like pharmaceutical pills, these like SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. I missed that, thank God. But now what they're finding is actually, thanks to MAPS, the multi whatever psychedelic research, whoever those guys are, but they're doing a lot of great work in terms of getting psychedelics like psilocybin, LSD, MDMA to actually help people therapeutically, and they're actually getting great results versus all the bullshit that the big pharma has been trying to shove down your throats and make billions of dollars along the way. Interesting too, that if you look at the side effects on all of these psych meds, they have violent side effects, but nobody really is making the correlation between that and the mass shooters, right? I remember growing up, I grew up in a small town. People were driving around with guns, 15, 16-year-olds. They had gun racks in the back. Nobody was getting shot. It wasn't until this mass deluge of psych meds with violent side effects just hit the market. But somehow, maybe it's because every other commercial on the news is funded by one of these commercials that has a family picnic and people, oh my gosh, and see if this drug's right for you. And then they have to have the disclaimer, it'll cause you to bleed through your eyes, causes suicidality, causes homicidal ideation, make your ass fucking sew itself shut, like whatever the side effects are. So anyway, I lucked out. I ended up I think I self-medicated myself in a big way, right? Through psychedelics. I never got into anything really like opiate based, thank God. I never did any of the cocaine or heroin or crack. All that, I just was like, no way. Actually, it was, why that was? I was very into the beat poets while I was an undergraduate. So Jack Kerouac, Allen Ginsberg, William Burroughs, and there was in a William Burroughs book, he's probably one of the most famous junkies in the world. And he was like, dude, just stay away from that. Only do psychedelics, stay away from opiate-based stuff. And I was like, okay, this guy seems to know what he's talking about. And I did. And I think it actually healed me, the psychedelics. I coupled psychedelics. And so I remember one day, though, it flipped, right? Because poison, this is a chemist thing, poison's in the dose, right? Even if you drink too much water, you can die from water, right? Oh, wait, here we go. Let's see here. Dave, sorry, I'm like ignoring all you guys. I don't mean to. Dave says, oh, my son's in remission. I figured let's keep going, dude. I'm on like a crazy regimen because I'm that way too. And I'm a little freaked out because I had so much radiation. They're like, oh, we're going to cure you, but you'll die when you're 40. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. But I'm on a pretty serious regimen So if you ever want to talk off of this, I'm happy to share what I'm doing. Maybe it'll be. I don't know if your son had to do radiation. Hopefully he didn't. Let's see. What's Russ say? Dude, that book where people were being abused by Satan pushed everyone to get high. Dude, here's the thing, man. We live in a culture that just is rife with false accusation. And like one group gets it done to them and then they start doing it to other people. I mean, like, look at the Salem witch trials. All these innocent poor women totally tortured, their lives destroyed, murdered, falsely accused of bullshit. Then they go on to do the fucking Me Too movement and Johnny Depp and all that. I mean, it's really sad, dude. It's really, really, really sad. I mean, look at To Kill a Mockingbird. That's the whole story was about that. And now we got Jesse Smollett fucking falsely accusing people. It's like, drives me nuts. Let's see. What's Dave say? Oh, you had to do radiation chemo. Yeah, I had to do that shit, dude. No fucking bueno. Well, I'm glad he's okay. Let's see. We got some comments here, do we? Oh yeah. Anyway, so poison is in the dose, and so I think I was doing too much weed, and I was too young, and I was doing a lot of acid. I'm gonna be honest. Like my freshman year of college, I did a lot. Shit, man. This is like 30 years ago almost, and it started fucking my head, and so I was like, okay, I need to stop this. This is like no good. So I stopped, and then I went I was at the University of Colorado at Boulder, and they had like a free counseling service for students. So I went there and spoke to a counselor, and all he wanted to do is talk about my problems and everything that was wrong in my life. And I'm like, dude, I don't need that. It's already happened. I don't need to rehash that. You're a fucking quack. Bailed. And you know what really saved me was, again, the Stoics, like Stoic philosophy. And I got deep, deep, deep into Rinzai Zen practice. I actually, this is one thing I'm really proud of. This is one of my first kind of, I wouldn't call it entrepreneurial, but maybe entrepreneurial, I don't know, leadership type of things. I was clean. I was having a hard time getting control of my mind back. And I was in a sociology class with my professor. His name was Len Pinto, rest in peace. He's passed away. Friend of mine until he died. We were in contact. Great human being. Sociology professor at University of Colorado Boulder. Len John Pinto, his name was Len John. And he was deep into Zen. And so one day during my class, I was telling him about some of my studies. He's like, oh, awesome. And I think he could see I was really serious about it. I get obsessed when I want to do something. I go deep, like catch wrestling, like business, like that kind of stuff. And so at this time I was like, man, I need to figure this out. I need to control my mind. And Professor Pinto, he knew a Buddhist monk, a Zen monk from Mount Baldy in California, had moved to Boulder, named Koyo, Koyo, I think. I don't know how to spell it. Koyo. And the three of us started the University of Colorado Zen Society, which is still going to this day, like 30 years later. I think we started in 92. So 92, 2002, yeah, 30 years, dude. It's still going. And it was me and those two that started, because I guess to have a charter club, you had to have a faculty member, a student, and then some sort of religious person if you're going to do a religious thing, like a priest or whatever. And he was an actual monk. So that was a massive win in my life, was getting involved with Zen. Zen is not religious, in case you don't know. It's not a religious thing. It is purely a mental practice. Now, people call it spiritual because it is profound mentally. But really, it's at the core of it, at the core of learning how to control your mind, is how to control your attention. Okay? This is the hardest part, I think, for people, especially in the world we live in today, which is just designed to fucking distract you, man. From, you know what I mean? Like, what I've heard is that the average person in one day gets the same amount of information bombarding them through screens and ads and billboards and people talking and all that shit. The average person alive today gets the same amount of information bombarding them as a person in the 15th century got in their entire life. Okay. So we live in this very distracted world. And I'm sorry, going to a psych person and getting meds and all that shit ain't going to solve the problem. You need practice. Just like I was talking at the beginning about fear and training your mind and harnessing and controlling that reactive mind and training it. That's what you do. Simply at the core of the Rinzai tradition, where I learned, was you would have a monk or somebody lead the practice, a Roshi, right? And they would lead the practice. And like however many people, I think we had up to maybe 10 people at one point when I was there. I don't know what it's doing now. You would get in your zafutan, your little pillow, so you could sit. You'd sit cross-legged, fold your hands. And in the Rinzai tradition, you do not close your eyes when you meditate. You just hold a soft gaze just a little bit ahead of you. And you listen. Don't control. You listen to your breathing. And what you find is your mind wanders, because it just wanders. And you learn this. You learn this separation that, holy shit, I am not my thoughts eventually. You realize, man, me, in this case, Coach Jake, I want to sit and I want to focus on my breathing and nothing else. That is what I want to do. That is what I said I'm going to do. That's what I want to do. And so I'm going to do it. Ring the bell. Let's go. And you sit there and maybe you're good for about 30 seconds. And then all of a sudden your mind like thinks about the argument you had with your girlfriend, or about, did I leave the stove on? Or, oh, I need to pick this up for groceries. Or what about this homework? Or what about this project? Or, oh yeah, this. And you realize, holy shit, my mind is like not under control. Right? So let's see. Dave says, psychology and academia, two of the main things destroying America right now. Yeah, I don't know what deaf girl means at the end of that, but yeah. Anyway, after practicing and training to focus on your breathing day in and day out, and what the benefit of having the Zen master walk around, in the Rinzai tradition, which is the tradition which the samurai were a part of, he would carry a stick. And if he could tell that you were not focusing or you were, he'd whack you, right? So you even have to train your mind to not be distracted by him walking around, or maybe him misinterpreting it, that you just had to sit there and be focused. And I honestly think maybe he would try to distract us sometimes too, and to maintain that focus and not lose focus. That was probably one of the most important things that I ever discovered and took part in. Completely chemical free. No fucking dude in a white lab coat telling me any bullshit. Just some dude trying to help me focus my mind, which is like a coach, right? So what does a coach do? A coach wants to get you from A to B. Don't get distracted on all the other bullshit, right? Now, what is that you want, right? So the job of the coach, traditionally in athletics, is to win, right? To put points on the board. But in business coaching, those points are dollars, like staying focused, not getting distracted, not going into the mopey pity party shit. Make sense? So again, I hope I didn't rile anybody's feathers or, trigger anybody. But if I can help you, I'm here to help you. I love talking to people. I love helping people. I'm here every day. I appreciate you guys tuning in. It is Friday, so let's go out and have a good time. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Yeah, man. And by the way, I just finished up my my website, not for Scientific Wrestling, not for Scientific Wrestler, which is our affiliate fight gym program, not for Coach and Catch, nothing about that, for the business coaching. Check it out. I am super freaking proud. It finally is where I want it. I've been trying to really nail this down for like the last 2 years, and I'm very happy with it. If you wouldn't mind, please check out No1 Coaching, No1 Coaching.com. Check it out. I would love to get your feedback. Yeah, guys. And if I can help you, I am always here. Again, you can DM me. If you go to the No1 Coaching, you can actually set up a 15-minute appointment bullshit with me on the phone. No obligation, totally free. Don't waste my time. It's there to see if I can actually help you. but I'd love to if I can. So you guys have a fantastic weekend. I really appreciate you all jumping in here on the chat. Hope you guys have a killer weekend, and I will see you guys on